We're down to 2 more games left. This is the senior women competition. We've got PEI versus Nova Scotia. As we're getting ready for the big, hard-hitting main event contest of the senior men between Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. But let's concentrate here on Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. And Hobson, Matt Melanson along for the call in this one. Cloudy, overcast skies, wind every once in a while. Nova Scotia pushing strong again.
That was great work by Brendan Gameau. She went for the jackal. It wasn't there, and as she was being rucked away, she switched into counter-rucking, and it allowed Brooke Reed to sneak in there and steal the ball.
Pretty much they've had the same lineup throughout the start of the championships to now. Google, Camo, McPhee, Ackman, Reed, Childs, Chichetto, Parker, Wells, Gunn, Myers, Dodge, Paris, Culligan, and Redshaw.
Some great footwork by Brendan Camo there. And to say, able to find gaps, players that are able to avoid getting hit hard, able to sneak in there around the goal line for a try.
Something about this game is some quick strikes here today. Team's not wasting any time getting on the board, and that's the case here in this for the Nova Scotia women. They're up with 5-0 lead with robo kicker Ailish Redshaw coming on. She may not take that. I'll give her that nickname, the robo kicker.
That's the interesting. The flag, I guess they're all looking like kind of going different directions, but I think the ones over on her side look like they're helping her. So.
I'm saying back home and under my breath, please be on.
Oh, it's well struck, but the flags are down. But
as I jinx the kickers again.
These kickers are going to have to take some accountability for that.
So stays 5-0. But she was pretty much like we saw her a couple of nights ago. And she was on her game. And I don't think she had not too many misses in that one, if I stand correct in that.
Yeah, so certainly hitting a solid percentage.
Restart back underway. Nova Scotia along that far sideline. Kenzie Cachetto in the mix for Nova Scotia.
Remy Myers with a few involvements early. Good strong leg drives.
Kick down the field.
Take a favorable hop as it still hasn't found touch. And so Sarah Gunn does the work herself of taking the player that receives the ball and tackling them into touch. Same difference. So a messy ball, but still cleaned away by the Celtics there. And now Mandy Wells on the loose. It's a nice quick transfer from Gunner.
Redshaw, Culligan.
Oh, my goodness.
Paris.
Oh, my goodness.
Paris pushing off. Loose ball up. And Redshaw might close to being the benefactor of it, but not granted.
I think the very skillful pass from Kat Culligan. I think everybody thought the stiff arm was coming. And as the players were bracing to be hit, the pass came away. Nice early pass from Mikey, an early pass to Kat, and a nice blind look back in. Mikey maybe being a little too polite. I don't know, not to disagree with an official, but I think maybe that went backwards and Ailish has scooped up and scored. But I also think Mikey should have just put her head down and scored, so what do I know?
Big win by Prince Edward Island from the depth of their own.
Athletic catch by Kat Culligan.
And back into the middle, Parrish. Dodge trying to give a little bit of support here to Parrish. Chichetto. Kat Culligan.
Childs trying to get the arms free. Backwards.
PEI picks it up. Kicks it upfield. Just outside the 10.
Nice dead ball
Ackpit.
back inside.
Ackpit pushing off. Almost a steal by PEI, but not quite.
Celtic sort of settling in here to set up exactly what they'd like.
Parker.
Great leg drive from Sophie Parker. She just doesn't get cheated on her carries.
Gunn as they go back. Myers. Myers being pulled by McKenna Munn.
A little bit frantic from the Celtics here. Prince Edward Island sustaining some pressure. They'll be happy with this defensive stand.
Kugel. Back out. Dodge. Chichetto. And the steal.
Strong rip from Prince Edward Island there.
Second time they get successful on the steal. The first time they tried for it and couldn't punch it out, but this time they do. And Nova Scotia penalty backs them up 10. Maya Fragem. Well,
they're electing for the scrum. I think they feel,
yes,
again, sort of middle of the field. The kick option's difficult. They'll like to test their scrum and see if it gives them a nice stable platform for a good attacking option. Ellen Murphy gets the offload away. Some strong leg driving here from Emma McLean.
Munn. Swing to the outside. Quick by Meisner release. PEI getting there. This is probably about as far as they've gone up the field since the start of this. And one holding up the Nova Scotia player, which allows Fragem to start the swing out to the outside.
Some strong fights here. A lot of high fights for the ball, wrestling for offloads. If people are able to start getting their hands free and getting these away.
Mackenzie Munn.
It's a good steal, I believe, by Sarah Gunn, but then no support there as she was tackled.
Fran McWilliam will be attempting to kick this into touch, and does. So Prince Edward Island, with the help of Nova Scotia penalties, moving down the pitch, looking to try to even this up at 5.
Kind of everybody up too early there and everybody back down, but end result is PEI.
There's sometimes I just get blown away with seeing what I see, and it's like, well, your job's to commentate, Dan. But it's like I just was like, it's almost like
was very well held close to the sideline.
Almost like that amusement park or exhibition, whack-a-mole, up, down, up, down. Olivia McLeod up there looking for it for PEI. PEI, as I said, pressing here, trying to get an errant pass. Picked. And Nova Scotia penalty. As penalties are sort of really been more helping out Prince Edward Island here. Nova Scotia giving up free yardage here as a result of those penalties.
Interested to see the tactics. Seems like they're asking Fran to kick them into the corner. See how close she gets them.
And succeeds.
See, they're somewhat conservative, but just inside the 22, just outside the 20, just on the 22 when Justin Roberts stops. See, I assume Prince Edward Island will look to set up some sort of, if not drive, but fake drive platform. Tessa Hood in that scrum half spot. It's a good way to signal that something might be up.
Yeah, the timing better.
Not happy with the straightness of that throw. The Celtics contested for it and really showed the picture to the referee.
But the timing was a little bit better for both teams that time. Wasn't looking like a game at the local exhibitions. We're getting close to exhibition season. So now Nova Scotia will bring this in. And
lovely work. Kate Childs is a great line-out option, and Brenton Camo's got a lovely throw, so opens up the playbook. They're able to throw to many different spots.
And back, it kicked. A little difficulty there by Prince Edward Island near the midfield stripe, but they do have speed in the back, and it gets the return pass. And Chichetto brings Sarah McLean down. And a good run by Sarah McLean to at least get it back down into territory. Fran McWilliam asked again.
A very sharp angle.
And kept on as they walked the fine line, and Nova Scotia happy to kick it back. Fragile.
A very interesting kicking battle.
Fragile's pass hit the dirt there for Emma McLean. Results in Nova Scotia get possession in the meantime, but play blown down, and looks to be, once again, a scrum here for Prince Edward Island. Have elected to take the scrum. Apologies on that. So teams, I think, were just happy to try to get to maybe a water break and talk it out and see what they've liked here in the
I think it's no great secret as PEI win the penalty with their scrum that they're a little bit earlier on in their development curve with this group, and as they're happy to keep building up good 10-minute stretches, good 5-minute stretches, and as the score stays close, they'll find themselves in the game the whole way through, one way or the other.
Fran McWilliam for a second time unable to kick it into touch. Nova Scotia right on their tippy toes, keeping it alive and in the field of play, and now a PEI penalty. Looks Nova Scotia will be happy just to kick it into touch. Drive down the field and successful. It'll just be A few meters shy of the 22 on this line out. We're looking at the measurements, it's going to be just a few meters shy of the 10. As we now have gone into water break moment.
Yeah, I think lots for both teams. Again, specifically the kicking game and how that's being dealt with, the territory that's being chewed off, and some very athletic grabs and counterattacks. Mia Fratcham and Sophia Atkins have made some, and Kat Culligan has made some pretty impressive just by her fingertips catches. And interested to see how that keeps playing out over the course of the game.
So you get a chance to take a look at some of the highlights of what we have seen so far in this one. Back pin. Well, I didn't get to try that dive, so it's. We'll take a look at that rush there by Paris. As Paris gets the pass and pulled down, and of course that was not granted as the Redshaw was bobbling it there, so Prince Edward Island happy right now with the first quarter of this. Only down by 5. There's the head coach of the Highlanders, Kenzie Cuchetto. We talked to a little bit earlier in the championships. Provincial championship, and also was assisted in winning championships as well, as we're back underway. Emily Dodge. Ackpin on the run, high pass, gathers it up. Gunn opts to kick it, taking bounce. McLean, another 15 counterpart Redshaw. Yeah. There midfield. Myers with some great work being acknowledged there by the Nova Scotia bench. Quick hit off Kat Colligan. Short pass game working really well here for Nova Scotia here in the championships. Like we've had like maybe a player right there, so it's working off very well, and it may not be the easiest passes with people still in your neighborhood.
Yeah, you want to be comfortable passing in traffic like that. As Emily Dodge makes a little half break. Was able to get the ball away. Sophia Parker's got speed.
Parker,
break away.
Parker has all kinds of time, and we'll get it down. Sophia Parker, 10-0 with the conversion to come. Dodge with a little bit of the work of that, as you said, right off to Parker, and the yellow cleats don't fail me now. She'll get it down.
Yeah, she's got some serious acceleration for a back row player, and yeah, quick taps or number 8 picks. She's always able to start to pull away on really anybody chasing her.
Ailish, Redshaw. Good. Makes it 12-0. Coming up to the 17.5 minute mark. And the battle here for Prince Edward Island, they haven't had like the deep bench like Nova Scotia has. They've been getting injured and more along the way. So this is a great effort so far. You got to see out of them.
Yeah, and they seem to have picked up some reinforcements. I know I had heard from Ellen that there are a few players that weren't able to make the first few days of the competition for other commitments. So it's a great shot by Gunner. See if that sails over the back three. That's about as perfectly placed where a kick can end up. It's very hard for the back three to counter. They're far away from finding touch.
Sarah McLean, Emma McLean.
This sits up nicely for Mandy and put it right back.
Taking a Nova Scotia bounce away from Prince Edward Island. Looks like they were trying to keep that kicking game going back and forth.
Yeah, and we think about the sort of net territory gained and lost in those kick battles, and where Gunner first kicked that from, well inside her own half to put pressure on, and because the catches or the recoveries were always contested and under pressure, PEI had a harder time matching that distance on the returns, and so after a few kicks each, the result is a line out for the Celtics, 50 meters ahead of where they started. Well held by Kate Childs. She's got great hands. A basketball background for Kate.
Ackpin crossing the 22 of PEI. Gun. Kat Culligan. Stiff arm. Redshaw. PEI pressing to get.
Ayla's trying to sort of do a sit-up to not be put into touch.
Yeah, exactly.
And eventually her ponytail touched the turf.
Almost looked like the PEI player was going to be, well, as you said, you can't touch the hair, but it would result in a yellow pretty much automatically. Kenneman.
The wind is going to wreak some havoc come line-out time. Kate's timed up the jump well.
Yeah, PEI made an adjustment at the last second before that was brought in. Parker. Got to try. Hackpin brought down before she could get to the outside. Back in the middle. Bounced on by Britton Kamoba. It's going to be called on the knock on. So scrum here, just meters shy of the 22 of Prince Edward Island. Might have got a hand on that. We heard the hand hit a ball.
Might sit up nice, little bounce pass.
Culligan to the outside. 2 to beat for Culligan. She's kept forced to the inside. Trying to get some real estate. Culligan brought down midfield in the middle of the pitch. Prince Edward Island call for a penalty, and it is forthcoming. We've seen the explosiveness of Kate Culligan or Kat Culligan here this weekend.
Yeah, so close, almost able to drag those defenders in, but as she goes to ground, Ellen trying for the spiral kick, but just too difficult to
easily
find
field,
touch.
Easily field out of bounds. Ackpin one person to beat.
Michael Paris.
Oh, Paris, sorry.
Yep. It's a great support. Remy and Mikey. Remy steps in, so there's space to the outside. We've seen that sort of interplay a few times between centers and wingers, and as Remy steps in, Mikey inhabits that space to the outside. And, Michael's having a great season so far this summer, and he's been a great player for a long time, but seems to have taken even another step forward. And that's what happens. The team's been defending for a while and gets into a kicking game and can't find touch. The defense gets a little bit tired, and trying to be a perfectly flat line that covers the whole field can be difficult.
It does wear.
Sort of a rare miss hit. I think Aylish maybe trying to mess with the trajectory there to deal with what looks to be a wind
Issue, yes. There's times that it's sort of like picking up some of the tents that are located around the facilities here on Kings Edge Hill. 17-0, and McWilliam to get it going again. On the catch, Kate Childs on the run.
Some pick and goes from the Celtics now. We've highlighted that earlier as a bit of a trend oncoming, but now driven back.
Dodge. Kugel. That is Ackman. Mandy Wells.
There's
something
Remy
quick on
giving
the
us another.
outside. Remy Myers. Wind blows down the 22-yard marker. That far side.
It's a great recycle from Brooke Reed to Kate Childs.
Pressing again, Nova Scotia down. Yes, now it's rewarded. Try 5, Nova Scotia.
Brenton Camo tots it down. Very strong player, Brenton, and successful weekend for both her and Remy Myers as they coach the U19 boys Nova Scotia team that has won 1 gold medal. So they may leave this weekend with 2 gold medals.
Yeah. Coming to Windsor to pick up some hardware.
Yeah, and with the U19 Nova Scotia Celtics, the Celtics looking to get 3 of the 4 gold medals on offer, and the senior men will look to win their competition against the Newfoundland senior men just after this game here this evening. Wind seems to have died down a bit.
But off
Very
the mark.
close.
But of all the ones that have been like on that far sideline, or even any of the far sidelines or near sidelines right on the line, they've just been difficult to hit this weekend, and she gave it a good shot.
Yeah, exactly. The best to do is give it a chance and give it enough leg and get it in the right direction and read the wind properly. I think I always took the kicks really sort of outside the 15-meter line towards the sideline, or you're going to accept a much lower percentage, and even nearer the 5, even much lower than that.
Coming up to less than 3 to go till halftime. And it's what you said earlier, is that you get defending, and it's pretty much one of the stories I said would be here at the championships when we started Thursday, was if you're spending a lot of time defending, you're not getting a lot of chance with the ball, and that's the case here for Prince Edward Island. There's Nova Scotia's up by 22. But PEI hoping to change it with Sarah McLean and company. Ball up, and it's picked up to the outside. Lauren Harper Or brought down there by Kat Culligan. Carla Stewart.
Pass just a little low, but able to be recovered.
PEI look at it, as I said, to get some sustained pressure. Olivia McLeod. And sent down.
See who's going to sit up for Eilish.
Renshaw as a kicker, but kind of shanks it. It goes right into the foot of Prince Edward, hands of Prince Edward Island. There's a wind and a shank, and you put those two together, and results in a try for Prince Edward Island. Just a little bit of bad luck, as it was that bounce, and then she lost her footing and then tried to, and deflects off a hand, and pretty much was a present after that for PEI.
That was Mia Fratchman who said she's had some great counterattacks. That one maybe not so traditional, but opportunistic, and
right place,
nothing,
right
nothing
time.
wrong with being opportunistic.
Fran McWilliam.
First
Good.
kick of the game for Fran, successful, and a very strong kicker.
Yeah.
Whistle blows from Audrey for halftime.
Good way for Prince Edward Island to end it. They've got some points on the board, some momentum here to take into the brief intermission and talk things over and get ready for the second half. You're watching the 2025 U19 and Senior Atlantic Rugby Championships here on Maritime Athletic Profiles. action back to resume here the senior women's portion of the 2025 Atlantic Rugby Championships. Nova Scotia leading Prince Edward Island 22-7. PEI scoring late in that first half, and as you were saying to some of the people off air, is that this is the strongest that Prince Edward Island has in terms of bench strength all weekend long here for this final game for them.
Yeah, they've had some reinforcements, I think, that were only ever expecting to be here just today, yesterday, and they had picked up a few players through the course of the weekend. So, yeah, happy to see teams kind of healthy making their way through, and interested to see how this game goes. We say we're at sort of a crucial point, that next score, that momentum.
Yeah, Emily Ann McQuarrie may not have known that pass was coming her way for Prince Edward Island. In the meantime, they still have possession as Munn's brought down.
Yeah, so sort of
Cloud. Sorry.
At any point, a team would say, sure, we'd like to score next, but 22-7, and you get a chance to get to 14 and start to feel like you're in it for the next 30 minutes.
Prince Edward Island pops it up. Renshaw with the miss. See what Ellen Murphy's crew decides here. She'll take this and kick this out to touch.
And difficult ask to make touch in the middle of the field, but Ellen's got plenty of boot. Sort of just inside the edge of the 18-yard box, really. So probably still some work to do when it lands. It won't just be a simple pushover, but
Cloud over to talk to Munn. Up, but it gets by everybody. Nova Scotia just happy to boot it downfield.
Creative by Britton Camo. Kick caused a little chaos. And good result for the Celtics as they'll move forward 20-odd meters and play off a scrum.
Two and a half gone in this second half, and 60-minute game, and then that's what they play senior women's. Of course, the men will be going to 70s.
Caitlin Dewey making an appearance there for Emily Ann McQuarrie. Had a great stint.
Well, if you got the bench strength for PEI, might as well use it now. Give them a chance to get some action.
Opportunistic by Mia Fradsham there as Mandy brings her to ground.
Prince Edward Island once again trying to go downfield. Trail by 15. And they'll up and kick it, and it's over Redshaw's head. But
Ailish able to limit it to just one bounce and get into the business of counterattacking.
Yeah, brings it back about half the distance there of the kick from PEI. Chichetto.
Forward was the offload, says referee Audrey.
We heard the coach from PEI just yell at the, so gave it out. Scrub just in between the 10 and 22. Downfield level for some sights and sounds.
Bind! Set!
Strong PEI scrum. Ellen looks like she's trying to play off the back here.
Run away, stiff arm once again.
Stiff arm fight.
Chichetto thrown down and looking back at one of the referees to say, is that okay?
Oh, an intercept by Sarah Gunn.
Yeah. Gunn just puts it down on the ground to kick. Swing it around to the middle of the pitch. As PEI gets possession after a short possession by Team Nova Scotia. They'll kick it downfield.
Strong kick. Ailish again able to
keep
it to only one bounce and off the counter attack.
Trying to get away from my Fragim. A quick little pass to Colligan. Colligan. This PEI player takes a tackle for the good of the cause to stop that rush there for Kat Colligan.
It was great work in the tackle by Lauren Meisner and over the ball by Emma McLean to win that turnover. It was a nice little counterattack move with a reverse to get Kat Culligan freed up, but one stiff arm away from Emma McLean, but Emma McLean works back onside. I think now looking back at it, Emma McLean's wearing 12. I might get.
We'll make that change now.
Yeah, and was, if Sahara's still on, that was her in number 7. Apologies if there were any mistakes there.
Well, if the game's going back to back to back to back, it's makes it difficult for teams to get the information to the media. So it's hopefully everybody understands as we have a line out near midfield.
It's a great ball from Mia there under pressure.
That's been a lot of ball possession by Prince Edward Island.
That's
big tackle as they've tried to get to the outside with PEI. Denial. Carla Stewart. Nova Scotia getting into some penalty trouble off the back. Up 10.
McKenna Munn coming off. And
so practically looks to be everybody has got some attention and some playing time in this one. Last game of the championships for both teams. Be fair to say we saw solid play from this Prince Edward Island team, but it's did get a real fair measurement because when you don't have that many horses to the race, like we were talking about bench strength, it's hard to really judge a team to see how solid they are. But they're solid in terms of like the front, in terms of their scrums and the mauls and everything like that. They've got some size that.
Certainly, I think everything else will. The sort of stuff that will come. And Celtics are starting to give away some penalties here as a result of PEI pressure.
Now they're back 10 for them.
Ellen Murphy running fairly aggressively there on Sophie Parker, but Sophie able to hang on and drop to a leg there as the help's coming in. Lauren Deal coming into the front row as Janice Kugel comes to the bench.
Send it down for some sights and sounds again. Olivia McLeod. Fradjum.
Able to move to the width there.
And tackled into touch. Yeah, it looks to be we have a injury that one of the medical people is attending to. It's Olivia McLeod. In the meantime, you can take a look at some of the highlights when we return to action. And we're back here with Nova Scotia line out. In the 42nd minute.
Very accurate, consistent lineup for Nova Scotia. They should be happy with that.
A little no-look pass. Cat call again. Call again.
Very hard to stop.
Yeah, a few stiff arms as you were right on cue with that. Down into Prince Edward Island territory. Parker already has a try. Looking for another one, but it won't come this time. Mandy Wells. And lots of shrapnel here. Well, everybody's picking up, and in the meantime, Remy Myers favoring her head. But she'll stay in the contest. So here's a scrum, and once again, more sights and sounds.
Strong PEI scrum here. Disregard as Celtic's front row just took a little bit of time to get to work there. And PEI not so stable in the end and gives away a penalty.
And gun.
Yep, perfect. A perfectly placed kick as Mike Dickey walks back out to the 5-meter line, as that's as near to the goal line as a line out can be. Rataj Abdullah checks in as Michael Perez. Looked like she was coming out. Rush Michael's gone to the wing as Remy Myers comes off.
Scotia up by 15. Looking for more.
Able to set the ball at the back, but knocked on in the process of feeding the ball back through the maul.
Tempo of the game sort of slowing down with the nearing three quarters. And a water break coming up the next minute or two.
penalty, not happy with the driving angle, so penalty awarded to Prince Edward Island. And with the wind, they'll have a chance to clear their lines. We'll see how aggressive they are with the kick for touch. Off the side of the foot.
Yeah, didn't quite get the full effect of that, but what work says is that it will give him a little bit of breathing room. Tessa Hood. Every once in a while, you'll see PEI players go over and talk about this line out there throughout these games. Communication very key. And once again, wind gets to be a little bit of factor on that line out.
Not straight the call. Celtics line out powerful in attack and defense as they're able to contest. And then comes Lucy Caldwell. Mandy Wells come off for the last 15 minutes. Mandy and Janice going for a hug. They coached together, have played together for years. And kept the team in a strong position for a very long time. So good to see they're able to get some substitutions in for them now.
Childs cleared again. Come on. Tried to get to the outside again. Lauren Deal. Yeah. A penalty will take us to a water break. We have a 15-point lead here by Nova Scotia, 22-7. Team's getting a chance to get a little bit of a breather. As I said, the temperature was in the humidex when the game time started was right around 32. I don't think it's really gone off the mark as they take a look at some.
And I think we saw by the end of that New Brunswick-Alberta game, some of those players really starting to feel the cumulative effects of the weekend and the fatigue. So, yeah, best to get the water breaks in and try and look after the players.
This was the result of the lone try here for PEI as it was off the foot of Redshaw and taken in by Prince Edward Island. That's their lone points of the game.
Senior men in Newfoundland and Nova Scotia are finishing up their warm-ups in the in-goal, starting to make their way in, ready to take the field. They're about 15 minutes behind schedule on the day, but all in all, not too bad for all the things that can happen on a day like on a weekend like this. So we'll see through the final 15 minutes and then bring you the senior men's showcase game.
Well, since you talked about it, you might as well tease it here for the crowd in Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, senior men. Haven't had a chance to see a lot of senior men's action, but
yeah, I think the some fantastic players on both sides here. I would say a few times we've seen Newfoundland sort of milling about, warming up, going through their paces. I know they've brought a very strong side, and first chance I've got to see the Nova Scotia boys, as they haven't obviously been camped in with everybody else, but even just standing right in front of us, Safe Sanad and Harry Corkum, a couple fantastic players, Captain Sam McDonnell, Jamin Hodgkin, some players that will be looking for professional and international duty in the coming years.
And that
strong
coming up
push
after this one.
Strong push by the Celtics. Ellen's forced to pick under pressure and drive back.
They go back and kick it out.
It's a strong kick, but it sits up nicely for
Paris.
Mikey.
Paris cuts to the outside. Brought down by McWilliam. A bouncing ball. Up for grabs.
Rataj with a athletic move to be able to
keep.
drop down and scoop that up off the floor and not get driven back in any tackle or lose the ball.
And
no release.
PEI penalty. Tap and go, Sophia Parker. Runs over Stewart. Nova Scotia once again looking to try to increase here. Up by 15. Pressing closer, closer.
Lucy Caldwell here to Maggie McPhee.
Atkins trying to hold up. Catch it.
Yeah, I
It's
think
tied
PEI,
up.
you could see, moved to the tactic once they realized they were under the ball to just drag Maggie back with them, not try to stop her from getting in, but knowing that they'd be able to prevent the grounding.
Another look at it.
So we'll see what they're able to get with their goal line drop here.
Pretty good to get that out of the way past between the mid and the midway between the 10 and the 22 is Nova Scotia's getting set up here and getting some bodies here to the left side. And already Prince Edward Island is saying we need some ladies and bodies over here. So they're bringing it over here to the near sideline. Fee.
Some strong leg drive by
Abdullah.
Rataj, keeps the options available.
Kate Childs. Quickly off Paris. And Chichetto.
Some very nice rugby there.
Only fitting that Chichetto gets
On
a
her home
try
turf.
on her home turf.
Miss Chiquetto, they call her here. Some wonderful work there through the hands. Maggie finds Kate, who gets a little line break. Able to find Mikey, who you can tell that the offload's coming so quick. Kenzie's there in support.
Less than 10 minutes to go. 27 to 20.
Discussion from the referees here. I don't know if we're going to be able to get that in.
Sure, let's go let it down.
Unfortunately, battery's dead on the microphone, but we are seeing from context they're discussing something back in the lead up.
You know what'd be great right now is to play that old classic 80s song there by Rick Springfield, Don't Talk to Strangers, as the referees talk this out.
Yeah, we've got the captains making their way in. Brinton's got to run a long way back, expecting a kickoff. Ellen comes in. I have a suspicion what this is about, but I don't want to discuss it until we see what the resolution is.
Can we at least get the camera in on them to see try and see what she's like pantomiming?
When she was chatting there for a minute, yeah, I saw the three of them. But
Yeah, I just mean right now.
well, yeah.
So, as we say, the battery in that microphone no longer working, but the body language here. I'm a body language expert. Just says that, a few minutes left here. We're not gonna necessarily have any extracurriculars or anything, but maybe just a bit of a chat generally. So time back in after that chat.
Ailish Redshaw. Outside the uprights. Right at the 22. Tucks it in. Put 2 more on the board. 29-7. You can sort of see the bottom of our screen. Girls going arm in arm here. Late stages known as well, that's some good work by us there. The PA speaker just automatically came on. And you turned it down, I turned it off. That's teamwork.
There, let's see what it's going to do now. Lauren Deal flat to the line, always a good strong carry.
Dodge unable to handle. So, Band Evolve of Rugby Nova Scotia must be happy with so far the results of the day, with the main event still to come.
Yeah, all everybody's equal. All these divisions, but yeah, great results for Celtic's teams, top to bottom, and a great results as an event. We think great results as a rugby event, and competitive games and exciting, interesting games, and hopefully reasonably pleased as a broadcast product, and hopefully accommodations and logistics. These are big events to pull off, but knock on wood, we're 1 game and a few minutes left to play.
Yeah, and it was a busy few days for you as well, and probably at the end of the day you'll say, but then you're also say, I'm kind of missing this now.
Yeah, beats working for a living, I always say.
Knock on there. So. And I said you got to hand it to Prince Edward Island here for. At first, they had lots of adversity. A short bench and have overcame some obstacles, and their play has gotten better as the championships have gone on. And I'm sure that speak for everybody back there in Prince Edward Island, how they should be really pleased with how well the girls have played here. So when they go back to their club play, they'll definitely have a great experience to talk about here in Windsor.
Yeah. Let's see what one of the last strike moves here. Kat Culligan's had a great game, plenty of running. Brooklyn McCormick gets a touch, lots of speed there if she can break free, but if the ball spills loose. It's just revolving turnovers here. We've got an original knock on. Yeah, Owen McLean gathered up a steal, but come back and Kat Culligan stole that back, but we'll come back and play the first knock on.
And now some of the more changes and
Clara Jackson and Sam Mensa come in for Kwame Akpan and Maggie McPhee.
very good moves here made by the respective coaches' staffs here to bring the last some of these players to walk off to the appreciation of their teammates. As I said, it's almost like a graduation ceremonies that schools do these days. Alan Murphy. Just under a minute and a half left.
Maya Fauché in winning a turnover.
And with a few exceptions, mostly the starters.
Great shot by Mikey Paris.
On the bench here for Nova Scotia. Under a minute. But that clock below that's ticking. Not the official one. Well, you have to, of course, wait for the 3 blows from the referee. So, Matt's going to do takeaways for some medal ceremonies here. That's going to be immediately following this game, and then they'll have the men's game. And they're just, as he said, running just 15 minutes behind. So we'll have a little bit of a delayed start there for the senior men's final between Newfoundland and Nova Scotia. And as we mentioned, at this long, grueling schedule, 8 games for the day. Mike not working. Sophia Parker. So we're now into injury time, so and now Tommy McCarthy will enter the game for Nova Scotia. There's excitement starting to build. Some of the players' parents starting to gather around the Nova Scotia bench. Prince Edward Island says we still want to play, so and they'll kick it upfield. And Kat Colligan watching sail into touch. So they'll add it just maybe about a minute or two onto this. Result pretty much already in the books, but we said gallant effort by PEI, came in shorthanded, dealt with some adversity, and they gave this Nova Scotia team a little bit of a run. Paris trying to push away with potential tackle. Nova Scotia still going down the field. Childs. Dodge. Trying to try to end it with the try here for Nova Scotia, up by 22. Looking to add more. A penalty here, Prince Edward Island, and this should almost make it. And as the quick blows of the whistle indicate the end of this one, Nova Scotia with a win over Prince Edward Island, 29-7. Got to step aside for a second and be back to wrap this one up and tee up the senior men between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland.